In this video, we are going to talk about functions, which are called blocks in Snap. And they are an important piece of learning to think powerfully and elegantly because they enable you to reuse code. That's really important because it means you can stop duplicating code here and there and everywhere and actually just make code that you can use again. Let's do some examples in Snap. There are a lot of different kinds of blocks that we could make, and I want to make this example fairly simple just to show the power of blocks. So I'm going to make something simple like drawing a triangle on the screen. So from where we are, right there, we're just at 0, 0. We're going to have the pen go down. By now, this should be old hat. We're going to move. We'll make the triangle a little bit bigger. Move it 50 steps. Oh, we should probably talk about what direction we're pointing first. Let's make sure that we are pointing to the right, which we are. So we move 50 steps. And then we're going to turn to the left. We'll make this 60 degrees, move another 50 steps, turn to the left again, move another 50 steps. Oh, and of course I put pen up instead of pen down, so let's put that pen down. Okay, and one more thing, since we've already moved somewhere, let's make sure that before we put the pen down, we go to 0, 0, and at the very end of it, we pick our pen up. Actually, we'll pick our pen up here. Okay. Well, that didn't quite work. That didn't quite work because we didn't get our angles right. So let's just go ahead and fix those angles. It's just because of the way the angles are represented in here. I actually need to turn 120 degrees both times. Okay, so if we do that, we should get a nice triangle. There we go. So the whole point of this was to talk about how to make a reusable block. So in order to do that, we're going to go to the variables because that's where make a block is. We're going to click on make a block. And you can pick where your block shows up, whether it's a motion block, a look block, or exactly where you want it, or you can have it in the other. For this, because it's mostly motion, we're going to put it in motion. And you give it a name. I'm going to call it draw triangle. And then you can pick whether your block is available to all sprites or only this sprite. You can pick whether it's a command, whether it returns a value, or whether it returns a logical value. And we can talk about those in a minute with the different examples. But with just this one, we're going to stick with command. Call it draw triangle, and it gives you this little block editor. And you can actually just drag the code we just wrote straight into the block editor. Now, I can just let that happen, but I think in order to actually show you the power of using blocks, I want to take the clear out of there. And I'm also going to take out the parts about moving and let the movement be outside of there. And we're just going to have it do just the triangle. Okay? We'll save that. And if we go to motion now, you'll see that our little draw triangle block shows up. And so if I put these back together the way they were, the program should run exactly as it just did. So it draws that triangle. And part of the reason I took those motions out was that I could do things like, let's put the pen up. Let's go somewhere else on the screen, like negative 150. Put the pen down and draw a second triangle. Of course, I put the pen up instead of putting the pen down. Grab the wrong one. Pen down, draw a triangle. Do that again. And now you get two triangles. So now this enables you to reuse a lot of code that you've already been writing, so you don't have to duplicate it. But the real power of this comes when we can actually change things in the block and have parameters. So let's pretend we wanted different size triangles, for example. If you right-click on the draw triangle, you can say edit. And it lets you change the block definition. And you can click on the little plus here, and it enables you to add in something called a parameter or an input, which is just a variable. And I'm going to call it size. And now it gives me a new variable, just like the variables that we're already used to. Instead of moving 50 steps each time, I'm going to move size steps. Save that. And you'll notice we get little squares here. And now we need to tell it how many. So for now, I'll just hard code it. I'm going to make that one 50. I'm going to make this one 100. And we'll try it. And we should get one triangle that's twice as big as the other. And that's what we get. There are two other things to note when you're making blocks that could be really important. So let's say that we want to make a block that returns a value. Let's say, for example, that I want to add 3 values together. Right now, that would require taking a plus, and then another plus and putting them inside each other. So I'm going to go to the variables. I'm going to make a block. I'm going to call it a reporter block, and I'm going to put it in operators. I'm going to call it add3. Make it available to everybody. And it has a new thing that we haven't talked about before where it says report. And what that means is it's going to return a value. I'm going to drag this into there. I'm going to add in 3 parameters. I'll just call them A, B, and C. And drag them in there. Now, all this little block does, it's just a simple block just to show you how you can return values back to your program, is it will return the addition of A plus B plus C. You can return any value that's legal in Snap, and those can be really important. So I could use this if I wanted, for example. It should be in the operators block, and there it is, add 3. I'll make one more block just to show you that you can also return a predicate value. It'll give you a square. We'll again make it an operator. This one we're going to call and3. And what we'll do for this one is fairly similar. We're just going to add in an and, 3 values together instead of 2. We'll have A, B, C, okay. And the thing to note is that the add3 returns a circular value, just like the operators up here, and the and3 returns a diagonal shape that you can use as a predicate. So you can use it in a logical thing like the control, for example. This was a short screencast on how to make blocks, also known as functions. These are really important to making your programs powerful and elegant. They enable you to not have to copy code over and over again, which also enables you to introduce bugs. By using the blocks, you can minimize the bugs and make your code much more readable. The way that you're going to learn how to use them in more detail is just to practice them, and that'll come about in the next exercises and labs.